All right, welcome back to the podcast, episode 171. We made it. We made
Oh,
it.
you talking to me?
Yeah, we made it.
Sorry.
We made it to 170.
170, that's one after 169.
Hey. Welcome back to the podcast. This is your boy, East Coast Trev. I'm joined by my good friend, Mr. Madman Marty.
You already know.
Well, hey, we're here.
We're here.
And they're there. We're there and they're there.
They're out there.
I don't know. Excited, dude. The season's coming down to a trickling end, I guess, if you could say that. I mean, everyone's kind of killed a big buck. Everyone's kind of killed a big buck. So it's been kind of one of those things. We're coming down to the grind. Christmas is around the corner.
Still plenty of time.
You know, the funnest time of the year comes now. I mean, this is when those big bucks are chasing around them small little does, and
you get the second rut.
I know, and it's kind of funny. I got a phone call today. My uncle works for the town, so he calls me up and he says, "Hey Trev, you want this small doe? She was running across the road and got hit." And I was like, "Was there a big buck behind it?" He goes, "I don't know." And I go, probably
More
good
likely,
odds, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So it's that time of the year, And it's funny is we both have had big bucks, shown up on camera that we've never seen before. Or maybe have, but we don't really, or punched into that area, right?
I had one show up tonight.
Yeah.
I don't have much intel on this book at all, but the last time I have any intel on him was September 9th.
That's crazy,
and
dude.
He shows up tonight.
And so I had a big buck that I've never even seen before show up. Like big buck. And you're like, dude, what? Where did you just come from?
Where have you been all my life?
I know, man. Like, I would have definitely chased you the whole entire season. And then he daylights. He daylighted today. He showed up yesterday at 6 p.m., and then he hit another camera at 8 p.m. 2 hours later, and then he showed up at 9 p.m. in the morning.
9 p.m. in the morning, huh?
9 a.m. in the morning.
Is that part of daylight savings?
Yeah, it is daylight savings. Actually, no, you know what? Now that I think about it, he showed up today during the light. Yesterday, he showed up at 6 p.m., then 8 p.m. on another camera. The day before that, he had showed up on camera also in the dark. So he daylighted 3 days. Yeah. And, of course, it rains.
And you're painting traps.
Well, no, the thing is that you can't even, I couldn't even go and hunt. Dude, it was torrential downpour and wind, so I couldn't hunt this afternoon. And I was like, oh, he daylighted. He's in there. He's done. I got him now.
But you know what's crazy? That buck I was just talking about daylighted today in the pouring rain.
And mine was before the rain, just before the rain. And I knew I should have hunted this morning before the rain. Hopefully, I'm going to end up, well, probably not. All right, I'll keep it for myself. Tomorrow's opening day of land trapping coyote, so I'm going to get some metal on the ground. And actually, it was a week ago, but we are now recording the, December
podcast
1st,
land.
right?
If you say podcast land, they get it.
Yeah, they get it. You think they get it, or they just talk about it?
Don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know, but the season's been a good season, man. I'm super, I'll take a check on it, dude. Like if it ended tomorrow, I would say that it was a very successful season, like a grinding season. Might not have been as successful where there's big deer on my wall at the end of the season, but it's definitely a successful season in learning, being and putting yourself in that predicament of being where big bucks are.
Right.
And seeing big bucks.
Yeah.
And it's not that my season is always revolved around killing big bucks. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the fact of, not killing a big buck in my home state this year, but seeing a ton and having better opportunities than I have in the past. And my focal point of the season was to, chase a mature deer, try and shoot a mature deer. So that was kind of the focal point of it, and not. It's not that that's who I am, but it's just something I'm just setting the bar a little bit higher for myself.
Right.
And I got to, we'll take it back a little bit. I mean, as you guys all know, my season kind of kicked off here in the end of August, and we started grinding at Bear Camp, which was a phenomenal trip. You guys have all heard about it. If not, you can go back and listen to the podcast about it. But that was a great time. Got to learn a little bit about the bear hunting thing, came home, worked. And then went to Maryland Sika hunting and had an absolute blast. I mean, that was just an absolute grind and, learned a ton. It was a new species I never hunted. Same with bear. It was a new species I never hunted before. Had the opportunity, shot and missed. I'll be going back there late season here in the end of January. and to try and fill that tag, then come home, work for a little bit. No, I didn't even. I went right to Ohio, hunted Ohio, shot a nice deer in Ohio, got it done, grinded, whatever, shot a good deer there, and then came home and just tried shooting a trophy deer here. And that really didn't happen in the month of November. That was my goal, to hunt the month of November and shoot a mature buck. Well, now the gloves are off and it's time to go, and now it will be the muzzleloader is going to come out. Hopefully get some snow, some tracking. We'll get some traps in the ground. Hopefully trap some beavers and kind of grind out the rest of the season. Maybe pop one or two, and that will be a wrap for me. And then get back to scouting. So it's not that it was a bad season, not at all. I mean, dude, the opportunities, the deer I saw, the fun we had. I mean, it's just. You kind of gave me crap about it, like, oh, you didn't hunt today. And I was like, yeah, dude, I've been hunting for 3 months. Like,
I gotta keep you motivated.
Yeah, I know, but it's a grind, dude. And you're like, by the time I come home, I'm like, ugh.
One thing that I've noticed the last few years is as you elevate yourself and set higher goals for yourself, you start to flirt with the idea that you might not shoot a buck or fill it. You're going to eat some tags.
I mean, like for you, dude, like and that's funny as I go back and I have, we text virtually. I mean, my wife will be like, "How many times do you talk to Mardik a day?" And I'm like, all day. It's not like a time thing. But anyways, you go back and you look at the videos, and like today I was looking at the deer that you passed. Like, do you think that in your mind, like, are you kicking yourself for passing that deer?
No, not at all. Let me finish my thought. We'll get to that in a sec.
Okay.
When you set your bar high, your personal goals high, you flirt with the fact that you're going to eat tags.
Right.
And I've come close the last few years. Like even last year, I didn't shoot my buck till December 4th last year.
Right.
That was late for me, but I was like this year. I was passing deer, and about this time last year, it started setting in. Like it might not happen this year, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna settle for something just to settle to fill a tag or to say I fill the tag. So
you're not gonna drop the bar on yourself just to fill a tag.
Just to say fill the tag, right?
Yeah.
And it came close last year, and it's running into that again this year. But I accepted that at the beginning of the season. So now looking back. It's not a surprise, but I mean I passed a ton of deer, nice bucks,
right?
I mean decent bucks, a couple that were really nice, yeah. I mean I have just as much fun having the encounters, running the camera now and videotaping these deer and watching how they interact and what they do and all that stuff. So to me, I mean. Just because I'm not zipping an arrow through him, I'm killing him with the camera.
Right.
He's right. I mean,
that is a blast.
Yeah.
It definitely makes it. It's kind of crazy. Is like, yeah, it's heartfelt. Like, especially for me, having that killer instinct, and like, I just love killing animals. I as morbid as it sounds, it's just something that's always been in me. Like, I still have that child in me when you were in your early 20s and you just killed everything. I still on the verge of that, dude. Like, it's hard to get that out of me. But when you start to film, you kind of set aside a lot of it, right? So it's okay because you come home and I'll sit on the computer and I'll be like, oh, dude, look, that's that buck. And it's almost not the same feeling, but it's really cool to have it on film.
It's almost as
it
weird
is really
as it
cool to have
sounds,
it on film.
You have something to show for it.
Right.
So when I pass a deer, I mean, in the past, I just Snapchat them and send them to the groups and stuff. But, like, I'd pass a deer and I'd come home with a story. And, oh, yeah, I passed this deer. And I'd try to describe them about, what he looked like, whatever. Now it can be like, oh, dude, check this out. Like, this is exactly you can see exactly what I saw.
Especially to have it on a good film.
Yeah. So as far as passing that buck, if I regret it, not at all. I set a very high goal for myself this year, and I shot.
It's not over.
No, not at all. But this is where we're at now. First of all, I was lucky enough to shoot a nice buck early in the season, which definitely makes it help. But that was so long ago, it's almost like it doesn't even count anymore. That it feels like that was last season. But going into the actual season to me is like the month of November. I was committed. I've been hunting one buck and only one buck. So it's been great. It's been a blast. I've enjoyed it, as frustrating and mentally exhausting it can be. The problem with it is my hands were pretty much tied to one property.
Right.
Where in the past, I could bounce around. Like, I'd have a shooter at one property and a shooter at another property. And depending on the day or what mood I was in or the wind, I could say, hey, I'm going to go to this property and hunt this deer today. Next day, I could go to a different property, hunt a different deer, or, 2 days in a row here, and I could bounce around. Well, for 3 weeks, I pretty much hunted one property.
Do you think that that's like kind of one of the, like, looking back on it, that could be kind of a problem, right? Where you would want to try and find more than one deer to that caliber to be able to hunt, so that if you do get, like, for the example, like for you there was a lot of non-controllables in the situation,
Right.
that kind of threw wrenches in it.
Yeah, so I knew going into it was not going to be easy. I even said prior to the season, I knew there was a chance I might not even lay eyes on this deer at all.
Right.
At all. Like you said, there's a lot of different variables as far as other hunting pressure and other people pressure. There's certain rules on the property. Like, I was hanging and banging the whole time, which I'll tell you what, being mobile is awesome. Being mobile gets old real quick when you're hanging every single day for 3 weeks, sometimes twice a day. If you're not sitting all day and you're getting down and moving midday, and you're talking cold mornings, man. You're going in 4 a.m. It's 25 degrees out, and you're going in to hang a stand in the dark, and it's fun, but I'll tell you what, it'll beat the shit out of you real quick. But I embraced it. I'm not, by no means am I complaining or making excuses. Like, it was awesome. But
it just definitely wears on you.
Oh,
because
yeah.
you know that the next, and that's one thing for me, like, always, I went from hunting ladder stands 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago to having, that preset ladder stand, and always hunting the one stand, right? You go to one property, you hunt one stand. That's how my deer season had always been, until I had gotten into mobile hunting. So now I'm mobile hunting with a saddle, and then you start throwing sticks and stands into it. And there's just days where I'm like, dude, I don't want to mobile hunt. Like, I want to go to a stand. Like, I have some presets, and, like, I just want to go to my stand and hunt. Like, sometimes I'll purposely go and I'll hunt in the afternoon, just to make it so that I can go to that stand in the morning. So I go in the afternoon, I hunt that stand, I leave that stand just so I can go to it in the morning, and, like, I don't know, it just makes it kind of nice. But like I said, man, the days, the hunting season was a complete and utterly success, man, and it's not over yet.
No.
But we've gotten through those great days of the year, those ones that you kind of bank on, that you look forward to. We made them very successful. We may not have came out with the deer that we want, and I'm saying this like I didn't shoot a good deer. I shot a good deer this season.
Yeah.
You shot a good deer this season. We had a very successful season, but to fill a second tag, if we were going to shoot a second buck for the season, it just hasn't happened yet. Muzzleloader, my goal, man, is to shoot a nice buck in muzzleloader season. I've always wanted to shoot a nice buck with my muzzleloader. I'm going to put in a little bit more time. I needed to step away and kind of do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
I'll throw this out there for all the people that listen that, don't get me wrong, I'm blue collar. I work my ass off, but I'm fortunate that I get a lot of vacation time, and I save it all year, so I can hunt 3 weeks straight in November. And I know you're listening to this and you're saying it must be nice. And it is nice. I'm not going to lie, but I'll tell you what, if you've never done it, if you've never hunted 3 weeks straight, it will beat the shit out of you to the point where you don't even want to go. If you're working Monday through Friday, you ain't missing a Saturday. It's your only day of the week to go.
Yeah.
You're getting up and going. Well, you get in like a 10, 12, 13-day stretch of hunting every day. It don't matter what day of the week it is. It's just, they're all just married together.
And that's the thing, is I envy a lot of these guys, and you could, I guess, put me in that group and that of those guys that hunt all the time, like those guys that go from outfitter to outfitter, or they go from DIY hunt to DIY hunt. They travel around, and it starts the beginning of September and it doesn't end until January.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And hunting, dude, when you hunt like bear camp was 2 weeks of hunting. I mean, bear camp's different. Okay, I get it, but you're still hunting every single afternoon. You're then. I mean, I'm there working, so I'm skinning and helping out and whatever else in camp. But then you go to another state like 2 weeks later, and then you're hunting. It drains on you, dude. So 3 weeks of just hunting.
Mm-hmm.
It is extenuous, and you're doing all day sits.
All day sits.
Maybe breaking for an hour. I envy those people, man.
Yeah.
That's no joke, dude. That's a hustle. That's a grind. It's a full-time job.
It'll put some hair on your chest.
It really will, man. It really will.
You want to talk about getting in tune with your gear?
Yeah.
I mean, I lived in my tree stand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I spent more time in my tree stand than anywhere else for 3 weeks. And I'll tell you what, you get to know that tree stand and that platform pretty damn good.
Know how it works.
You know the ins and out of all your gear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Speaking of, why don't we break? Let's get a word from our sponsors.
Oi, you! Yeah, you! Put down that mug of Joe and get your lips wrapped round one of these bad boys. That's right. Nor'easter Game Calls. Give it a blow. Nor'easter Game Calls. Get 'em in close.
This winter, use Huntworth's Heat Boost products for impeccably warm body parts, guaranteed. Get more for less with Huntworth.
Vital Ground Outdoors. For all your climbing hardware needs. Amstel Mobile Hunting redefined with Vital Ground Outdoors. New Era Archery. Home of the Zeus Broadheads as well as the Hera. Let the Zeus loose with New Era Archery. I would just like to thank our generous sponsors. Back over to you, Trevor.
As always, thank you, Manny. We appreciate you, and we thank our sponsors for making this all possible. While we're on the subject, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes. 5-star review over on iTunes. Make sure to hit up the website, theoutdoordrive.com. You can get some merch. We do have some new stuff on the way there. Some changes, some big changes here at the Outdoor Drive. But I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. But I'm definitely looking forward to ending the season, I guess, and then getting onto the whole scouting thing.
Well, I do this every single year around this, just after Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. I'll be in the tree.
Well, we've already had the conversation.
Yeah, but I'll be sitting there in my tree stand, and I'll be daydreaming about postseason stuff, shed hunting, and just because I love the process.
Yeah,
I love scouting and unraveling those rub lines and the scrapes and figuring stuff out. And I'm sitting in the tree stand. I'm like, oh man, I just a couple more weeks, man. I can't wait to just get out there and start walking around and stuff. And then I have to like hit myself in the head because it's like, you idiot, you wait all year for the season.
Yeah,
it's the season now, and how can you say you can't wait for it to be over? Like
it's one of those things you don't know what you're missing until it's gone.
Yeah, yeah. Because another a month from now, the end of the month, the season's going to be over, and I'm going to be dying, jonesing for it to come back. You just got to embrace it while it's here, suck it up, grind it out the rest of the month.
I know that the season's close because Ruby is just absolutely driving me nuts. So she knows like that, she just, that she's pent up, right? Because she hasn't been ran in 2 months, 3 months because we've been grinding hunting. So she hasn't been shed hunting. She hasn't been doing nothing. So she's dying to get out. She's driving me nuts. So I know that it's that time of year. I don't know. It's just, I'm, what you would call, we are what you would call seasoned hunters, where as the season starts to progressively roll on, you just come on with the season. No matter what it is, whether it's spring turkey, whether it's fishing season, shed season, you just make the best of all the seasons. And I don't know, I love every single one of them equally. I love, fishing season, and it's great, and I look forward to it. And then the end of it, I'm like, this sucks. Mm-hmm. And then the next one comes, and the same, and so on and forth. But it's just fun, man. It's a good time. It really is. It's what we built our lives on, man. I mean, we look forward to all this stuff every single year. It's just it's so much fun. You're blessed with every season. and then you wait for the season to be over, and then you're ready for show season because you get to see everybody and chit chat with everybody. Yeah. You get to see what everybody shot, in person and all that good stuff, and tell all the stories, and then you're like, all right, I'm ready to go scout. I'm ready to get new equipment. I'm ready to mess around with new toys. I'm ready. It's just the way that it goes, man. It really is. I mean, I don't know.
It makes the year fly by.
It does make the year fly.
You know what I mean?
You guys all know I'm a taxidermist, so I went to another taxidermist place today to pick up some skulls and stuff, and I was like, dude, it's 1 month away from the end of the season. It's almost over, dude. Last time I knew, it was just starting. Mm-hmm. It's literally a month before the season's over, and 4 weeks goes by fast.
Yeah,
it goes by stupid fast.
I'm back to work, so I'm a weekend warrior now.
Nothing wrong with that, though.
No, like I said last week, I get to sleep in now to go to work. I don't have to get up so early, and it's pretty sad when your work day's less stressful on your body than grinding it out in a tree stand all day.
If that's not the truth, huh?
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's break over. Let's see what Mr. Mike Salter's got going on in the news.
All right, guys, why don't we buckle up and see what's going on in the world of news with Mr. Mike Salter.
Hey everyone, we're going to start this one off in Montana in the ongoing fight for wolf hunting and trapping. The Fish and Wildlife Commission approved the 2022 wolf regulations back in August. Since then, a lawsuit was filed challenging Montana's wolf management. 3 weeks ago, the judge in the case issued a temporary restraining order and reverting the wolf regulations back to the 2020 hunting and trapping season. And then last Tuesday, the court ruled to reinstate the 2022 hunting and trapping regulations, denied the plaintiff's motion for a preliminary injunction, and lifted the temporary restraining order. This means that the wolf hunting and trapping is open across Montana, including WMU 313, which borders north of Yellowstone National Park, and has a quota of 6 wolves. Trapping does remain closed in areas with occupied grizzly bear habitat, so a win for wolf hunting and trapping, but the lawsuit is still ongoing, so more to come on that battle in the West. Now to Virginia, where the inaugural season elk hunting season saw 6 hunters have success. Thanks to 20 different landowners, the hunters had more than 17,000 acres available to them. Many of these landowners were enrolled in the Elk Landowner License Program. Multiple landowners participated in the hunting and even hunted with the hunters on their properties. Some landowners went to check-in stations with the successful hunters, and 2 landowners even helped retrieve the harvested elk. Volunteers from the Southwest Virginia Sportsmen, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and the DWR's volunteer program helped every hunter to retrieve their elk from the field, transport it to the check stations, and then onto the processor. Every hunter harvested a mature bull ranging from 691 to 852 pounds live weight, and every bull was aged at least 3.5 years old, and one bull was 11.5 years old based on an ear tag that the bull had. And the largest bull was a massive 8x9, which unofficially scored at over 400 inches. So overall, this first season was a huge success, and the DWR is looking forward to next year's hunt. Now, for a few items out of Florida. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission has approved a rule setting the recreational bag limit for Atlantic shortfin mako in Florida state waters at 0. This is to make Florida regulations consistent with the federal regulations. Next, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission has proposed a rule to require the possession of a descending device or venting tool that is rigged and ready for use on board a vessel when harvesting or attempting to harvest reef fish in state waters, and this includes catch and release. The proposed rule is designed to increase the survival of released reef fish, which is a top management priority. The rule is not finalized, and a final hearing will be presented at a future commission meeting. And the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission has also approved rules to help conserve striped bass in the lower Ockalochnee River. The proposed rule change will keep the bag limit of 3 fish per day, but change the length limit from an 18-inch minimum to no minimum size, with only 1 fish over 24 inches. This is in an effort to protect breeding size fish. And lastly, to New Jersey and the battle for a bear hunt. In November, a year after halting the state's bear hunt, the governor came out in support of bringing back the 5-day bear season, with the possibility of extending the season if the harvest rate didn't reach the 20% quota. The change of heart was due to an increase in human-bear interactions across the state and concern about overpopulation. Days after the announcement, the Fish and Game Council held an emergency meeting and adopted an emergency rule which eliminated the normally required 60-day public comment period. Animal rights groups immediately filed a brief to halt the hunt, and a state appellate court judge did issue a halt on the hunt. This past Tuesday, the appellate court made a decision to lift the stay on the season, which was supposed to start Monday. New Jersey DEP quickly announced that the season was back on, and Check Station would be open until 7 p.m. The bear hunt will run through this Saturday, but the regulations also provide for an additional season from December 14th to 17th if the harvest goals are not met this week. So a huge win for hunters in New Jersey, and hopefully hunters can get out there and take advantage of this short season. With that, as always, if you have any news to send along to me, it'd be greatly appreciated. Reach out to me at Mike Salter on Facebook or bearded_bowhunter21 on Instagram. And with that, enjoy the rest of your ride.
Thank you, Mike, as always, man. Make sure to send over the news. Mike loves to hear from you. Send him nudes, news, whatever you want to send him. He doesn't really mind. But, hey, Mardik, do you still got a long, extenuous list of Killer's Corners over there, buddy?
We're about halfway there.
Are we?
We're starting to chug along.
It is nice to have a family full of killers, though.
It
If
is.
you guys haven't gone over to the Outdoor Drive group on Facebook, probably want to do so and get in on what's going on in the world. Go ahead, Mardik. Take it away, buddy.
And you know what? I'm going to shameless plug here. Do me a favor. Invite your friends.
Yeah,
Take a
dude.
minute. They don't have to be deer hunters. Anybody that likes the outdoors in any way, fishing or anything, go through that friends list and invite some people. Let's get this community big. So where are we at here? We got Clay Thurman with his backdoor buck. If you know Clay, I have no idea what a backdoor buck is. But
I don't really want to know what a backdoor buck is from Clay Thurman. It did have a really nice drop tine on it.
Oh, is that why I was? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see that at yeah.
That's a nice deer.
Yep. Shannon Beck Scott with a beautiful buck. Congratulations. Did you see this one? Jim Ross's daughter shot a opening day buck.
She always
First
does
solo
really well.
hunt.
She always does really well. As a youth, she always did really good throughout the community.
But this was her first solo hunt. She put herself on stand and called Dad up and said BBD. Chris Bittman, Connecticut private land crossbow buck. Congratulations to you, buddy. EJ Julian had a early October buck. Michael Leeton, 2 early season bucks. Baller. Jason Q, he shared a bunch of pictures. He's had a great season so far with a buck and a doe, and shared a bunch of pictures with his kid, so that was awesome. Shout out to you. David Giuliano's nephew, Seti, put the smack down on a rutted up 6-pointer. And without further ado, we got Mr. Josh Stubbs with a Kansas Giant.
I want to get elevated, man. You know, it was a tree stand that I had kind of caught my eye here in the past, and I saw it and I'm like, dude, I gotta have one. We had talked to him actually in Harrisburg last year. Was it last year?
Yeah, I remember seeing him in
last
Harrisburg,
year. And then I saw him in Iowa. And then I came home and I ended up ordering one, hunted out of it. I did some hybrid hunting out of it, down Sika hunted it out of it up here. I like it. It's a great stand. It's light. The guys are great people. So why don't we, without further ado, why don't we introduce everybody to Josh and Elevated Treestands?
Yeah, man, I can't wait to get into this thing.
Can you fit in it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's go see Josh. All right, we're back on the phone with Josh Stubbs, man. What's going on?
Living the dream here in Kansas.
Oh, Kansas. That must be nice, Kansas.
Is there big deer out there?
No, no big deer in Kansas.
We don't have any deer here.
No deer.
CWD wiped them all out.
Just pheasant and ducks. That's about it.
All right, that's
no
not
big
bad.
deer.
You don't worry about the deer. Don't worry about the big thing running down the corridor there.
Don't worry about putting that non-resident tag in.
They did go. Didn't they just go to like a draw? They haven't, or they've been a draw.
Been
for
a
bit?
draw. It's just getting harder.
It's always been a draw for quite a while. But there's just been so many people. It used to be you could get drawn almost every year. And it's not that way anymore. I'm sure there's some guys that are getting lucky every year, but the majority of them are at least needing 1, sometimes 2 points. So,
Was that a COVID-based thing, or had that already been occurred?
Well, probably partly COVID. I think out of state hunting became, supercharged when, you couldn't do anything else, but you could go sit in a tree or go, walk a field. So that was part of it. Also, obviously, Instagram, the last year, I think, or the last couple of years has really blown up. I know there's, some popular guys on YouTube, Instagram that have killed some big deer in Kansas. So it just adds to the pressure. So,
And Kansas is on one of those things like Pike County, Illinois, which is one of those things you don't really hear about all that
right.
much anymore. But it's just known for that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah. And I mean, there's not a ton of public land, but there's enough. And obviously, you can come get permission or lease property or however you want to do that. But there's enough public land that people can come and they kill some monsters. I mean, they kill some big ones. So
that's awesome.
they're not behind every tree, but there's the genetics are there for sure.
Absolutely. Well, let's turn
Yep.
this key, man. Let's put this thing in 4-wheel drive. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Yeah, Josh Stubbs, from Hutchinson, Kansas, and I run Elevate Stand Company along with my brother and a couple people in the office, and then we've got some guys on the floor. But that's mainly the reason I'm here is because of the stand company.
That's awesome. Well, you're also a phenomenal hunter too, so don't take that away from yourself, Josh. Jesus, come on.
Well, I appreciate that. I've had a good year.
And a stud at that. I mean, if the guys are looking, I mean, no, just kidding.
Gonna have to take this jacket off, man.
Easy. No. so the stand company just kind of started to come to fruition, though. That not too long ago.
Yeah. So Black Friday, which was just last week, that was our 1 year anniversary. So we have come a really long ways in the last year. We pretty much launched a full-size tree stand last year on Black Friday. And so this year, I mean, we've added sticks, we've added the Ultra, which is really the stand for mobile guys. But there's been a lot happen in the last year. We did all the shows, and we're working on another stand, kind of that middle of the road stand. As far as weight, be a little bit bigger than the Ultra, be just a little bit heavier. So we've also working on a camera arm. So all that stuff is hopefully going to be rolled out at ATA. So
Sweet.
Got a lot of stuff working.
That's awesome. That's so cool. What made you want to get into stand building, though? Like, where did the background come from to even want to get into something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always wanted to get into the hunting world somehow, as far as running a business. And so just, using a lot of different tree stands, obviously growing up hunting, aerospace was in my background. So when it came time to, hey, yeah, we think we can make a go of this. Obviously, we wanted to go lightweight, mobile. So really, all my experiences, for the last 20 years, whether it was my work or hunting, kind of led to this.
So did you grow? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Did you grow up in a hunting family that you started hunting as a kid?
Yeah, I got my hunter safety card. I think I was like 10. And so I would have shot my first duck somewhere around there. I could hunt doves and stuff like that on our own property. But back then you had to have your hunter safety card really before you could hunt anywhere else other than on your own land. And I grew up on a farm. So that definitely helped. But my grandpa was a big duck hunter. My dad was a bow hunter, duck hunter, but he also spent time up in Alaska with his brother, my uncle. And so that's really, I mean, when we talk about stories or what really got me what captured my imagination was all these pictures. And back then, they were slides that they would throw up on a wall. Uh, but, pictures of Dall sheep, moose, black bear, all these big game animals that were up in Alaska. So obviously that caught my attention. But as a 10-year-old, you're not traveling to Alaska to do all that stuff. So I was, stuck duck hunting, pheasant and turkey and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I had an awesome childhood. I mean, I lived out in the country and I could walk, mile and a half in any direction and chase, pheasants, quail, all that stuff. So
Has it changed since then to now?
as far
Like
as,
the hunting wise, like as far as
well, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not just hunting around home. I'm going out of state. Been to Alaska numerous times, Wyoming, Colorado, Oklahoma, all the surrounding states. Deer has obviously taken up the majority of my time. I didn't start deer hunting until I was 21. I had really just been a waterfowler, but then got introduced to it. Some guys at work. My first job was with Alcoa Aerospace, and we polished aluminum and cut to size aluminum for companies like Cessna, Boeing, Embraer, all that stuff. And so got introduced to deer hunting and just fell in love with it. I started rifle hunting, and just, I don't know, kind of got bored with it pretty quick because in Kansas, they do a good job of protecting the big bucks. They don't allow you to hunt with a rifle until pretty much the rut's over. So it usually starts around the 1st of December. A lot of the bucks are going nocturnal at that point and just, kind of hiding out. And so I just got tired of, had a couple buddies, they bow hunted, and I saw the size of the deer that they killed, and I saw the size of the deer that the guys hunting with rifles killed, and I knew that I needed to start bow hunting. So that was, that's kind of what started my passion for whitetails, and it has not slowed down any. So
it's kind of cool to hear that you fulfilled those dreams though from 10 years old to what it is now, traveling, being able to go to Alaska and do those hunts all
yeah,
over that you wanted to do from day one.
yeah, I obviously, I mean, I feel very blessed. My mom, I was born into it partially. Obviously, my dad, he grew up in a hunting family, but it was mainly like waterfowl and ducks. Um, and my mom was from Alaska, and my older brother was born up in Alaska, so that was, part of it's just in my blood. But I've been very fortunate to have opportunities to go to Alaska and go out of state, and part of that was, the job that I got with Alcoa. Um, they sent me a lot of different places, so I got a lot, see a lot of the U.S. And then I just, spent most of my vacation on hunting. So
It's cool
yeah,
that, I mean, you can just tell right off the bat, right? Like the intermingling of building like structural with aluminum and the
yeah,
hunting aspect, that it's been since day one for you, man. And then to finally bring
yeah,
it together and build Elevate Treestands was, I mean, it's a no-brainer for you at that point.
yeah, yeah, yep. No, there's obviously a lot of passion behind it. We are not in it to make money. Obviously, you run a business, you have to make money, but that's not our end goal. Our end goal is to make products that the end user is going to like, and they're going to love, and they're going to use it for a long time. And I mean, they help me. These products have, and so, obviously that's our goal, to help other people.
So when you had decided to come out with the first stand, like when it went to the drawing board, like how far from when it went to the drawing board to making it actually be in product was that process?
Oh man, I mean, we went through a lot of a lot of versions of it, and even and it's a great stand. But for the mobile stand, obviously the Ultra is a lot better. And so there was I'm glad that we started out with the larger stand because we learned a lot in the production process. We learned a lot going to all the shows and really talking, every customer that or potential customer that would stop at the shows, I would ask them what they're looking for, what they want, what do they use right now, what do they not like about it, what do they like. And so I think we did a very good job on the Ultra, and a lot of that was based on that, you know, this full year, I guess, that we've been working on tree stands. But really it came down to what is the general public looking for, and that's how the Ultra came out. But yeah, I mean, we've gone through a lot of versions getting to where we're at.
I
A
could
lot of
only
trial and
imagine.
error, obviously a lot of testing, hanging a tree stand, putting a ton of weight on it, seeing how it reacts, and then then the final part is sending it to third party testing and making sure they sign off on it and making sure it meets all the specifications that it's supposed to. So there's a lot of work, lot of long nights for sure.
I couldn't even imagine, honestly.
Yeah,
How about you?
yeah. Man, when we were launching it, um, my hunting season last year, I mean, it was pretty stressful just because you're trying to get this thing off the ground. You know that, or you want to be in a tree, but you also know that you've got a lot of work to do in the office and in testing and all that stuff. And so this year's been a lot easier. Obviously, we learned a lot. We were working a lot during the summer, getting the Ultra ramped up. So, but yeah, it's been fun, man. It's been awesome.
How about the process? Take it back a little bit farther with your background and your day job with working with metal and stuff like that, and your passion for hunting. What was that like? To like just the thought of I'm gonna make my own tree stand and turning that into what it is today, and actually going to market with it.
Yeah, well, part of it, my brother Jared, who also helps, and there's a lot of guys behind the scenes that are helping in this company. Um, but Jared also worked I think he started like maybe 3 years after me for Alcoa. Obviously, they're a big aluminum producer, but so that was really our background. Jared ended up being like the quality manager for Alcoa for 20 years. I mean, they sent him to Japan, all over the U.S., Canada, dealing with quality issues. So, I mean, he really got involved in the metallurgical side, what was considered a defect, what you could use, what you couldn't use. I was more on the production side, and ran one of the facilities there. It's not an Alcoa facility anymore, but so obviously working with aluminum a lot. Uh, my background, I mean, really, I work to hunt. I mean, when it comes down to, I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I do what I do is
Mm-hmm.
is so I can spend time in the field and obviously spend time with family and spend time in the outdoors. So that's really where that passion came from. Was the growing up, the childhood, and then uh, getting into production and knowing how things work and how machines work and how even people work. And so I don't know if that answered your question. I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but
No, I think it answers it just fine. I think that building, taking what you know and putting it into your passion is
yeah,
probably one of the best things. And I think you explained it the best by you work to hunt. I mean, it's
right.
really what it is, and you
Yep.
made it full circle. Like and to be able to go out there and use that product that you built and to use it hunting. I mean, it's
Yep.
got to be a pretty awesome feeling, honestly, to be standing in your
It,
own stand.
oh yeah, no, it is awesome. And I used, um, like I said, we're coming out with a camera arm. It's not ready to be released for sale yet, but I used a version of our camera arm all all fall, because obviously if we're going to sell the product, try to work out the kinks and make it as best as possible. So it is cool to see some of those ideas that that you put forward, and to see them in a product. And then it's still kind of surreal, the fact that we've really officially only been at this for a year, and I think we've moved at light speed, on some of the products that we have come out with, and the products that we're going to be coming out with. But it's been awesome. I mean, we've met tons of awesome guys, guys like you. And that's one of the funnest parts about going to the shows, is you get to meet people that are like-minded. They love the outdoors. They love spending time with their family. They want to teach their daughters or their sons how to hunt, and to, see those families coming to the shows and getting to talk to them. I mean, that's a lot of what it's all about, man.
Oh, absolutely. I mean that's how it is in the outdoor world. I mean, like, to be able to meet people, to see that they're successful with using something, or even like yours. Like, I bet you people that send you messages that they were successful and they use your product and they're so happy, and it
Yep.
makes those long nights of you grinding in the shop trying to make it happen. It all pays off right there. Like, that's worth its weight
For
in
sure.
gold. I mean, I
Yeah,
could only
yeah.
imagine.
We've gotten numerous messages that, hey, I killed my first bow kill, out of your stand, and those are the ones that we really love to see, because obviously we love bow hunting. If I had to pick one sport, I mean, if I had to not ever shoot a shotgun or never shoot a rifle again, I mean, I'm going to pick a bow every time. But that we really love to see that, for sure, and to see, the sport grow.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part of it, is honestly watching the whole entire getting guys back, getting guys into it.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
I mean, like, COVID and everything. I mean, I hate referencing back to it because I absolutely hate it, but like, that kind of got more people into the sport, right? Like, it totally
Yep.
did. It gave everybody the opportunity, like, to kind of spend more time with their family, spend more time in the woods, get there and then grow this sport to what it is today. I mean, everyone says, "Oh,
Yep.
the hunters' numbers are down," but are they really that far down? Honestly,
Yeah, man, I don't know. I think that when you start talking about hunter numbers, or maybe licenses sold, back in the, like, when my dad was young, everybody bought a license every year, regardless of whether they hunted or not. Now, the guys that are buying the licenses, they're using them.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, maybe the number, of license holders is down, but I would think that the percentage of people that buy a tag or buy a hunting license and use them, I think it's way up,
That's a good point.
for sure.
Very
No,
good point.
that is a very good point, because what did they used to do? I know that my household was the same way. Like, my mom would buy a license. She didn't even
Right.
hunt.
Right.
My little brother, same thing. I mean, everybody, the grandma bought one. That was just because that was for tag management. I think that's what it was.
Oh,
so
yeah,
so dad
for
could
sure.
fill the tags, to fill the freezer, right? To have them. That's
Yep.
just a way of life back then. I mean, that was just the way
Right.
it is. So of course the hunter numbers are down, right? I mean,
Yep,
I don't know.
for sure.
I don't know
Yep.
what that has anything to do with our chat, but I just figured I'd talk about it.
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one. You can own that.
Story of my life, bro. Story of my life. No, it's whatever.
There's no question about it being a top tier stand, though. I mean, we've got one right here in front of us, but it doesn't miss anything. I mean, just the little things that some stands have, some don't, as far as like the seat locking as a shelf when you're packing it out.
Yep.
I love the integrated, the little, I don't even know, what do you call this thing? The little hook there for the integrated
I
part
can't see it.
for the
yeah.
for the
Yep.
sticks. I mean,
Yep, the
most,
stick hooks,
most stands,
yeah.
the sticks, you just figure that out later. But I mean, this thing was built to,
Right.
carry the sticks.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep, for sure.
and
And the reason we put them on the outside too is we wanted the stand to be balanced versus,
Center
and
step.
I am not criticizing other designs, but if as you stack stuff going out, your balance gets thrown off. Anybody that hiked or packed stuff in the mountains, it quickly becomes apparent. The further away that pack gets away from your back, and not that this is going to make a huge difference because most of them don't weigh that much, but that's why we went with going to the side versus stacking them out the back.
And I think being on the side like that, then you have 2 sticks on either side, and then you can still be able to put your pack in the middle. If you were to do a center
Right.
off of the beam here, then you won't be able to put your pack in the middle. So now you're moved to the side.
That's right.
I think it's a,
Yep.
a very, very smart idea. And the other thing too, like with it being like that, like you can pack a lot more onto it because you're not
Yeah.
fulfilling out that gap onto that shelf.
Right.
It's just. I think it's well made with everything. I mean, like with the twin. What do you even call those things? I don't know.
The dual post.
The post. Yeah.
Upright. We call them uprights.
Okay.
But yeah, you could call it the post. Yeah.
Why would it be double like that?
Well, it just for part of our process, we thought that it would offer more rigidity being 2 posts locked together versus 1 post. And that was just, once again, it came down to personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
Both, there's stands that the majority of the stands use a single post. We wanted to do something a little bit different. We wanted to, push some stuff, and we wanted to be different from the other tree stands that were out there, and so that's why ultimately we decided to go with the 2 posts.
I mean, so
Yep.
I obviously, like, all right, I'm a bigger dude, right? So I'm 6'1",
Yep.
270, okay? So when
Yep.
I get onto a small stand, any type of aluminum stand, it
Right.
flexes, right? It flexes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yep.
it's inevitable with anything, even if you're on a bigger stand, it doesn't matter. Like, so I get on that, and I think with the uprights like that, you're not seeing as much flex because they're taking it within each side of them. It's why
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of
Right.
wild to me because I've been on a ton of different stands. I've tried a ton of different stands, and you don't feel it inside of it. Like you don't feel that flex. Like
You're right.
on other stands, you can definitely feel it, and it's like it's in your mind. It's like crazy because you're like, oh man, I don't know, and I get nervous, dude, because I'm on the borderline of that weight cusk of 300 pounds. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I've never been. The past couple of years, obviously, I put on too much weight, but. You
lost some.
I did. I lost it.
But then you found it again.
Yeah, it's
Well, Thanksgiving happens.
every day though, Josh. Like, come on. But no, so you get on it and you have a little bit more of that security in your mind. You know what I'm saying with it
Right.
being like that.
Right.
And I used it all season, dude. And I hybrid hunted
Yep.
out of it. It's an incredible stand, man. I don't know. It definitely checks every single box when it comes to mobile hunting for me, honestly. Like, and having the packability, the usability, it's just light.
Yeah.
It does what it's supposed to do, man. And it's,
Yeah. Now, I've got a question for you. So when you hunt, do you put your pack in between the sticks, or do you attach your stand to like a pack frame or something like that? How do you hunt the most?
So I put my pack right on the back of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually my Huntworth pack, the straps come off. And at first
Yeah.
what I was doing was I was putting them right through that and then wearing it like a backpack.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
With the pack on the back of it. And then I put
Yep.
the straps on it. But when I'm doing something like that, and it's tough, man, because I was just trying to find my way of hunting where, like, because camera gear, you have all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
You have 3 times more stuff. Like if it was me,
Oh yeah.
honestly, I would use a small little tiny pack. I would strap it to the outside, and then I have my sticks on it, and I would take literally nothing if I could, like as much minimal stuff as I possibly could. But you could also take that stand and pack it to the back of my backpack. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
then go
Well,
on
yeah,
that way.
almost like a saddle hunting platform.
Yeah.
The thing's so small and light. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you definitely could do that too. But I took it and I would just use my my pack and just integrate it right into it and then use it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I actually attach mine because I do the same thing. I've got, a bunch of camera gear that I put in my bag. And I run a Kuiu bag. And so I just strap it right to it kind of, it goes kind of almost on the side because I got my camera arm and my camera on the other side, which I don't want those rubbing, the stand rubbing up against the camera. So I attach it to my backpack.
Right.
You do the
I
four.
just didn't know. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. You do the
Yep.
4 17-inch sticks on the stand,
Yep.
and then strap that whole unit
Yep.
right to your pack, the back of your pack.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Those, I haven't used a Huntworth bag, but the Kuiu, there's a bunch of straps on there, so you can cinch it down pretty tight. Yep.
That's how the Huntworth bag is. Like, it's got like 5
Okay.
different straps that come across the top of it. It's got, because you can use it as a gun for a gunsling. It's got a ton of different things. It's probably very comparable. They're probably very comparable. Their big backpack is to probably what a QU backpack is. I mean, they're just backpacks, right? I mean,
Yeah. What cubic inch do you know what your pack is?
That's a good question.
yeah, that's a very good question. We probably should know that. Thanks,
It-
Josh. No.
It's, if I had to describe, compared to other packs that I have, it's not like an extra large, but it's not small by any means. It's like it's a good size. Like I've been mobile hunting for the last few weeks, and it's been pretty cold, and like I was able to pack in my camera arm, some snack, because for like all day sits, snacks and drinks and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah.
But I was also packing in all my top layers because I was, going in wearing my base layer so I didn't sweat. So my outer jacket, my vest, and my lightweight sweatshirt was in the pack, as well as my stand sticks. You know what I mean? So it's got plenty of room, but it by no means is it massive.
I'm looking it up right now to see what it would
I was
actually
gonna say
be.
I'm gonna guess it's got to be around like 2,000 cubic inches, maybe 1,800.
18. I was gonna say 18. Yeah, you got to be right there in the ballpark, I would think.
2,000.
Yep.
It says
2,000.
2,000.
Damn, you're good. It's almost like you've done this before. So
No, I'm a pack junkie. I really like backpacks and packs and stuff like that. Obviously, going to Alaska and Wyoming, you're dealing with 5,000 to 6,000 cubic inches, but my small Kuiu is 2,300, and that's just about perfect. So
that's why I never give my old lady a hard time about buying another purse, because I got enough backpacks.
oh yeah, no,
You never have too many backpacks.
I don't get to harass my wife about really buying anything. We know who spends more in this relationship. It's me. So.
It's so funny that you say that, honestly, because like my wife is a purse collector, right, and high-end purses. So everyone would be like, "I can't believe that you let your wife spend $2,000," and I'm like, $2,000?
Yeah.
I blink and spend that. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, how do you even, like, I can't say nothing. Like, I came home with a rifle today. I bought a rifle and 2 dozen traps. Like, how do I argue there? It's a Thursday.
Yeah.
Like, you can't argue with that,
Yeah, it's best just not to get in that argument.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
For most hunters
You
or
can't
gear junkies.
you can't bitch about a package on the front steps, because the next one might have your name on it.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's why you get home first. You get home before they get home.
We're actually the ones with the bad addictions, like everyone complains about their wives with shoes and everything else, and it's like, I don't say nothing. I'm quiet. I go down in the man cave. I don't want to know nothing,
Yep. For sure.
So have you put this thing to good use this year, or what? How's your hunting season going?
Man, yeah, I did. Sorry, my ear keeps coming out. Hang on just 1 second. Can you still hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Man, my season has been awesome so far. Hunted Kansas and Missouri so far. I'm hoping to still get on maybe another out-of-state trip. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not, because my wife started bow hunting, and so we're in the midst of trying to get her a buck.
This is her first year this year?
Yeah. In the stand, yep.
Yep.
I mean, she's gone with me the previous two seasons, but this is the first year for her to get a tag and try to kill one. and we had an awesome opportunity. Let's see, what night was it? Sunday night, I think. And it just, her first time to really be behind the bow and trying to get the buck stopped. I mean, he was on a hot doe and he came in nice 10-point, probably mid to maybe upper 150s. Beautiful deer. I'm actually kind of glad we didn't kill him because he could be a monster next year. But he came in hot chasing a doe, and she was trying to draw back without making too much motion, and she couldn't get her. It was pretty cold. She couldn't get her bow drawn back in time, and so she's a little bit frustrated about that. But I mean, it was just an awesome experience, seeing her face, and her talking about, how her heart was just, thumping out of her chest. So that's just been awesome. It's been awesome to share that with her, because not everybody wants to take their wife out on a tree stand, but Brittany, I mean, she plays a huge role at Elevate. She did the logo, she did the deer head and all that stuff. So she spends a ton of time on Elevate,
and she goes to all the shows with you.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. Elevate. We would not have Elevate without Brittany. I mean, she does a lot of the work behind the scenes. So she helps run the Instagram and Facebook page and all that stuff. So she's very important when it comes to that stuff.
Isn't it nice to have your wife though? Like in the stand, it's different. So both of our wives hunt with us. So we've been used to it. It's been yeah. So
I wouldn't say I'm used to it. This is my wife's this is my wife's first year. Now, has Brittany killed a deer before with the rifle, or is this her first?
She's not.
Okay.
No,
first.
Yeah.
So my wife just started this year. It's her first year hunting with the rifle, and I'll tell you what, it stressed the hell out of me just trying. I mean, I'm out here trying to get it done myself, and I got to try to get my wife to, and like you said, those fast-paced moments with, like, say, a buck's chasing a doe and stuff like that. Like, you're sitting in the stand and you're worrying about this stuff where you might know how to handle that situation, and you just kind of just go into second nature and just get it done. But how am I going to coach her through it in the middle of the heat of the moment and all that stuff? But she ended up getting it done. She shot her first deer, a nice 8-pointer, November 5th or something like that. And I'll tell you what, it was awesome. But what a relief, like, just to get it done. All right, baby, tag's filled now.
Sit down.
Get out my way.
No, for sure. Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
No. I've been going through it for a couple of years now. My wife's hunted with me for a couple of years. She fishes with me. She travels with me. I mean, it's a great thing. It's an amazing thing. And like Mardik was just saying, like, it's tough though, man, because you try to put them in a 100% perfect situation, probably like you've done, right? Because you know how to deal with that. You've been doing it your entire life. Like any situation that comes about, you're pretty good at problem solving for it, right? So like I wanted, when I had started to do it, to put my wife in a food plot or something where the deer are calm, cool, and collective, have that moment to put it together. It's almost like bringing a kid all over again, So it's tough. But once it happens, man, I'm gonna tell you this. Once it happens, they get stuck with the needle just as bad as you. Like my wife is on my ass constantly. Well, where's my buck? Oh, that just showed up on camera. I'm shooting that. I'm like, whoa, time out. It doesn't work like that. But you try, man. You try. And it's probably an absolute blessing to have your wife in the tree with you. You guys can share another memory and make more memories, honestly.
Let me ask you this, Josh. How was your buck fever watching that buck in front of her the other day?
Oh, well, it's a good thing. So I shoot a Canon R5. That's what I use to film and take pictures and stuff like that. And I didn't realize how good the image stabilization was because I literally, when he kind of ran off, because the doe, and we were over a food plot, because I knew that, the does coming through, they would be calm, but I didn't expect this hot. I mean, she was just running literally all over, and she came in for a split second, she stopped. I told Brittany to draw, and she just couldn't get drawn back, fast enough. But I was literally shaking. I mean, I could see my hands on the camera shaking when that buck, walked away. And I'm like, man, it was just it was such an awesome experience. Because, you really, during a season, you might have 2 or 3 opportunities at a good buck.
Right.
And, that was one of them right there. But she absolutely loved it. But my buck fever went through the roof.
Yeah.
When he came in, and we had a long time we watched him, almost the second that we got in the stand, we saw him chasing this doe around. And by the time he came in, it was maybe like 45 minutes later, 50 minutes later. So she got a long time to get nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. We were joking about it with my wife. I'm pretty cold blooded. I don't get too nervy until after the shot, And man, that buck came running out in front of my wife, and I'm over her shoulder with the binoculars, man, and my hands are just trembling holding the binoculars, and I'm like, just take your time, and like I'm quivering inside. I mean, it's just a different type of adrenaline than you're used to when you're pulling the trigger when it's your wife.
Oh yeah, yep. And I had the same thing with the when the kids were young, their first deer, because you don't want them to wound them. You want them to make a good kill, and there's obviously a lot of factors that go into killing an animal, and trying to teach someone from the very beginning, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. But yeah, you asked about my season. I had a target buck that I was hoping to get a chance at, and I had pictures of him last year, and he was in the low 190s last year. Yeah, he was a stud. And so I was really hoping to get a crack at him. And I think it was early October. And one of my buddies, he's a taxidermist. And so he's one of the first persons to hear in our area if a big buck has been killed, because there's a good chance he's going to get it to a shop. And he calls me up and he's like, hey, I think your buck got killed. I'm like, I instantly knew which buck. Obviously it wasn't my buck, but it was a buck I was hoping to kill. And he said, yeah, they think it's going to push 200. And I had gotten pictures of him that summer. I was like, man, maybe he goes 200. I don't think he's going to quite get there. But I did have the opportunity to see that buck in person, and I went to my buddy's taxidermy shop and we helped score him, and he was like 193 and 2/8. Wow. And obviously just a stud. He had some non-typical points, but like a split G3 and a couple stickers at the base. But he was really just a mainframe 6x6, just gorgeous. So I felt very fortunate that I got to find out that buck was dead, so I wasn't chasing a ghost, because I usually try to pick 1 or 2 bucks that I'm going after. We're pretty fortunate. We own property, and we also have had some, long-term leases. So we can usually grow some decent deer. We don't always get a crack at them, but more often than not, we're usually chasing a good one. So it was good that I, didn't spend half my season chasing a deer that wasn't there. But I had another one that I'd kind of been watching grow up. And I specifically did not hunt him last year a whole lot, because I knew if he came in front of me, I would kill him. And I was chasing another high 180, low 190 buck last year, and just couldn't get the deal done. but he was a gorgeous buck. He's a 10-point, mainframe 10-point. And I started getting pictures of him this summer. So I watched him grow up, but we had a really hard drought this year in Kansas, and most of the bucks did not get any bigger than they were last year. Like by far, the majority of our bucks, they either stayed the same or maybe didn't even get as big. So hunting through the season, and I've got a bunch of cell cameras out and stuff like that. So I'm getting pictures, but I'm splitting time really between Missouri and Kansas, and going to Missouri when I think it's going to be better there. Missouri was tough this year just because the corn didn't get cut till the middle of November, which usually, like in Kansas, we're cutting corn in the end of August, beginning part of September. Well, you got thick, heavy timber and then corn. Well, those deer can go in the middle of that corn, and I mean, you just don't see them. But so it was November, the evening of November 8th, I think November 8th was a Saturday. And we're supposed to serve in church the next day. We help serve like coffee and stuff like that. And I looked and I told my wife I was going to be there. And then I realized it's daylight savings time, so I would get an extra hour. And then I see that it's going to be like calm to light breeze. And if there was a breeze, it's going to be out of the northeast. I'm like, that is a perfect wind for this spot. There's a bunch of deer on the property, and I had moved. I completely changed how I hunted this property, and I had moved a stand into a big. Do you guys have mulberry trees?
Not a ton of them.
No.
No.
We're
not
familiar
really.
familiar with them. They're
Familiar with
around,
it, but yeah.
Okay. But in Kansas, they can get massive, but there are like branches everywhere. So it's like, it's next to them. It's not the big old mulberries. It's not a tree that you can go do a hang and hunt for the most part. Like you've got to go in and cut out some limbs. So on that Thursday of the previous week, it was blowing like 30, 35 miles an hour. And I'm like, I know I want to stand in that tree. And so on my lunch break, I ran up there and got a couple limbs, threw sticks, threw my stand up there. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to hunt it until it's, the right, till the wind is right, on a huge scrape line. And I was just, waiting for the right morning to come. Well, that happened to be Sunday morning. I said, okay, Brittany, I'll be at church by 9:00, but I'm gonna go hunt a little bit. And I had gotten pictures that night. When I woke up, I saw that I had gotten some pictures. I stuck another camera on the north end because we had a bunch of rain, and I saw where there was a heavy trail where there was a ton of deer. You could tell a ton of deer were using this trail. So I stuck a camera on it, and I got pictures of him like at, I don't know, midnight, 2 a.m. So I'm like, okay, he's got to be somewhere close. And so I snuck in, and I don't, do you guys use e-bikes?
I have an e-bike.
all?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Do you? Well, it's really changed the game for me, because I'm able to park farther away from the property. I'm not getting hot and sweaty. You can have all your clothes on, and you just, walk the last. I usually try to keep the bike, 200 yards away from the stand, but I now can park, a mile away from where my stand is, and then just, ride a bike in. So that's what I did, and laid the bike down in some tall grass and snuck into the tree. And like right off the bat, there's does coming out of the timber. headed towards feed. There's a wheat field on the east side of the property. There's a milo field on the south side, and they were, heading through. And this is like, I mean, right at first legal light. And there were two or three does that came through, and then they walked off, and I turned around real slow. I stood up and turned around, and I see a big body over by a big evergreen tree, and I'm like, man, that looks like a buck. And I got my glasses just on him just as he turned and looked at me, like, holy crap, that's the one that I wanted.
He don't have a name?
I don't.
It's him. It's him.
I'm not a buck namer. And no offense to anybody that wants to name their bucks, I prefer not to.
I don't know how you do it.
I never understood it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't. Like, you don't own that buck. Perfect scenario. You're after that target deer. That's a 190-inch deer. You think that it's your deer. You have, and my biggest problem with it is the attraction to that deer. First off, you have a picture of that deer, so you already have a physical attraction to that deer, right? Because now you think you own it. Then you name it. So then now it's my deer. His name is Brutus, and that's my deer. You know what I'm saying? Like, now it's like your pet dog. And then you're going to be now emotionally attached to that deer even more than if you didn't name it and it's just that deer. That's the deer, man. That's the deer that I want, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong of thinking like that. I don't know. I just don't want to have that attraction to it.
I want the attraction. I want that thing worse than I breathe.
My heart's been broken enough times in my life. I don't need it to happen in the deer woods every single year, too.
No, well, I don't name it, but I can promise you I get attached to it.
Hell yeah.
Because usually, like I said, I'm trying to pick one or two bucks that we're going after, because we're also, like, my brother and I, we try to target a certain age group. Mm-hmm. And so we're not targeting the 4.5, 5.5, we're targeting that 6.5 to 8.5. In my experience, and the biologists probably argue with me, but in my experience, when they hit 7.5, that's usually when they have the biggest rack. So if you're just strictly going off of inches, 7.5 is in my opinion what, at least in our area, that's when they're the most mature, the biggest rack. And I like hunting old deer. To kill a 7.5, 8.5-year-old deer compared to shooting a 3.5-year-old deer, I mean, the challenge is just, infinitely greater. Mm-hmm. But I get attached to them enough without naming them, and then you got to keep track of all the names. Yeah. Like, from year to year, you got to remember what was that buck's name?
This is like being 25 at the bar again. One girl walks in. No,
I feel bad because I completely just went off on a tangent in the middle of your deer story, but I couldn't resist the opportunity to.
That is completely fine, man. I don't care. We can take this conversation wherever we want to. So I turn around and I see that deer, and it's like, so I've got pictures of him going back to 2018, and so that's 5 years worth of data. I have never seen this buck on hoof. I've only seen him in pictures. So I've never seen him, with my eye. But as soon as I saw him, I'm like, he's headed back to bedding, or he's going to, run the scrape line. And it was still pretty early in the morning. So I, like, almost right away, instantly, I knew that, or at least I thought I knew he was, going to come my way. And sure enough, he starts, basically just walking on a rope, coming right towards the edge of the stand. And it's almost like not going to meltdown mode, but like, I'm nervous. And I usually don't get that nervous, but for whatever reason, I did on this buck. And I get the camera turned on. I set it at the spot where as soon as he comes into the shooting lane, I'm gonna shoot him there. Well, he comes up to the edge of the tree. I'm already drawn back. And he proceeds to freshen up the scrape that's right. And the scrape is on the opposite side of the tree. So he's raking the tree, he's raking the ground. And I can, see him, and I'm drawn back. And at that point, it's like, man, all it's going to take is one shift of the wind and he's going to be gone. And, I might not get another chance at him. That's also been my experience. If they wind you, it's game over, at least for that stand in that area. But what seemed like forever, he comes to the edge, like in the video, and I could send you this clip, but you can see in the edge of the video, you can see his nose and a couple, just like the part of his main beam on his antlers, and then you can see like steam coming up. And I'm like, he's right there, but I can't shoot him because the tree's blocking him, and I'm waiting for him to come in to the camera range at this point. And so finally he just kind of walks forward, and he's 14 yards away. And he wasn't walking very fast, so I didn't even try to stop him. I'm like, if I try to stop him and he bolts, I'm gonna jump out of the tree and impale myself on an arrow. So I didn't even stop him. I just all those hours of practicing this summer, getting ready for my elk trip, I just released that arrow, and he did not react how I thought he would react. I mean, I was pretty sure I saw I use lighted nocks, and so I was pretty sure that I saw that fletching, go right through his chest. But he takes about 5 steps and stops, and he's looking around. Like, I mean, I've missed early on in my career bow hunting, the first year I missed 265-inch bucks. The first year of my bow hunting. And I know what bucks do, when someone misses them. They move a little bit and then they start looking around. That's exactly what he did. And I'm like, man, there's no way I missed him. Could I have missed him? And so he's kind of taking a couple steps here and there, and then I see his back end get just a little bit wobbly, and then he takes off on a dead run. And so I instantly go to the camera and I know I hit this buck, but he just, he didn't act like it. And so I kept replaying it. Yep, that's a good shot. And so of course I text my brother and my wife in a group text and said, hey, I think I just killed the one I was after. And it's always, whenever my brother or me or one of our sons kills, a deer, it's always a big deal in our family. And so had a couple buddies, my wife, my brother, they all came up, and we tracked him, and he went like 90, 100 yards. But I mean, he was laying right out in the open along used to be a homestead on this property. And there was like an old road, and he was just basically laying right on the edge of it. So, I mean, it was pretty awesome to get him on film, obviously out of our tree stands, out of one of our using one of our camera arms. And so it was just awesome. Also, you think about, these old bucks, how many cars they had to dodge, how many coyotes they've had to escape, how many hunters, I wonder how many hunters. I wasn't the only one that had that buck on camera. I wasn't the only one that was trying to kill him. How many times had people, shot at him and they missed, and, they just they live a hard life to get, to 7.5, 8.5 years old. That, they've got to dodge a lot of stuff.
Somebody else gave him a name.
So
Big John.
I'll tell you a funny story. So my buddy, he's got a pool business, and there was this kid that came in, and my buddy was wearing an Elevate hat, and so the kid was talking about deer hunting and stuff like that, and he showed my buddy a picture of a deer that he was trying to kill. Guess what deer it was?
That one.
It was the deer I killed, and he's like, "Well, buddy, you might want to find a different deer because that one's dead."
That's awesome.
But it's like, what are the chances in a town 30 minutes away that this kid is hunting next to the spot that I was hunting? So
way more common than you think.
I've actually I'm one thing you'll never see me do is I'll never post a trail camera picture of a deer on
during season.
That ain't dead.
Oh, no.
If he ain't dead, he ain't going on Facebook. I've seen my target buck on Facebook from somebody else, and I don't say anything. But thanks for the intel, bud. Let me write that date and time down because I know exactly where you got that picture. Mm-hmm. Come on.
It's funny.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. You will not see a trail cam pic of any of the bucks that I have killed until after it's dead. Yeah. I mean,
I love when other people share them.
It's crazy because like you had told the story about the 190 that you were after and your buddy's a taxidermist and he calls you, right? Well, I had the same exact thing happen with my target deer last year. And I had been chasing him since 2018. 2016. I had pictures of this deer and had been chasing this deer. Hadn't been aggressive as I probably should have, but I was after that deer, and I thought that deer was actually dead. Last day of bow season last year, a kid posted up a picture of a buck, and the kid's from the same town where that deer is, dude, and I thought it was dead. So I woke up in the morning, and I'm just laying in bed. I'm up really early, and I'm scrolling through the pictures, and I see the buck on Facebook, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, that's him, dude. Are you kidding me? That's him. And I literally, dude, my heart dropped. I was so upset. I'm like, there's no way. I says, they killed him. I literally put my phone down, dude. I rolled over and I went back to sleep, right? So December rolls around. There's snow on the ground, first snow. It's muzzleloader season, and he shows up on camera again. After he made it through gun season. So it goes September.
The other deer was a spitting image.
Was a spitting image of the deer, and I thought it was him. So then I'm like, all right. So he shows back up on camera. It's December, I think, 10th. So he would have been off camera around about the 15th of November. So I hadn't seen him in almost close to a month on camera. He made it through gun season. Now it's muzzleloader season, and I'm like, all right, I'm going in. I'm going to go track him. Well, he ends up going off the public land on a private land. So fast forward, and I was doing muzzleloader drives like the last week of the season. And a buddy of mine, he made it through that entire season. So that was 2 seasons ago. Then last season, we chased him a ton, seen him twice on hoof, 60 yards, 75 yards, couldn't get him anyways. Fast forward to gun season of that year, so it would have been last year, and my buddy of mine, taxidermist, sends me a picture, bro. And he's like, dude, look at this monster that came into the shop. And I called him, and I was like, dude, you got to be kidding me. I said, that's the one I've been after. He's like, we got to put you on suicide watch. And I'm like, yeah, probably a good idea, man. Absolutely a good idea. Same thing, man. I went down there, measured him, met the guy, was happy as hell, got to get the full circle of it, kind of where he was kind of going and what he was doing. And I think that's going to end up helping me in the long run if I get in another deer in that area, because there's a ton of big deer in that area. So you find another older deer, but it makes your heart sink. And it's the most upsetting thing in the world. That deer for us, that deer was almost 170, a mainframe 8-pointer. I mean, it's an absolute bomber for our area. Yeah. And, especially East Coast deer.
That's a bomber anywhere.
But for an East Coast deer, that's a monster. You know what I'm saying? That's an absolute hammer. But it's just, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I was happy.
Yep.
The guy was 70-something years old, bro. Probably the last deer
Oh.
he's probably ever going to shoot. He was going to cut the antlers off and put them on the garage. And
Oh my word!
his son talked him into mounting the deer. It's just crazy, though, man. And those guys, and then come to find out with it, there's 10 different guys that were after that deer. Like these guys, you're at a game dinner, and the guy's like, "Oh, look at this deer I was after," and I'm like, "You were after him?" And he's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Here, let me show you the album. I have about 3,000
No
pictures
shit.
of that deer
Right.
since 2016, bub. You know, like you had him on camera
Yeah.
at 2 a.m. You were never gonna find that
Yeah.
deer."
He was on my hit list.
Right.
He's on your wish list.
Yeah.
But the big thing for me, and I can tell by the way you talk and tell your stories, is like, for me, it's like I'm not deer hunting. I'm hunting a deer. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's what really gets me going is like when I go in the woods, like I'm only looking for one deer to show up that day, and I might see a pile of other deer, smaller bucks, whatever. But I'm waiting for that one particular deer, and I mean.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, it's a pain in the ass. It can get very frustrating. It's very hard, but like that's what makes me tick. That's what makes me happy is targeting that one
For
deer.
sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
Do you know what the difference of Josh is and you is?
he kills big bucks.
Well, but he also doesn't name his deer.
I know. I don't know how you do. I really don't know
I'm
how
just
you do it.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Walk me through this process. So here's this deer. Since 2018, you said you've been watching them, or like when you call your wife, you just say the one I was after.
Oh yeah, she knows. I mean, everybody in the family knows which deer I'm trying to kill, and that's about it. I mean, other than
They're all named him.
Other than what's that?
They're all named him. Yeah, I just saw him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I just don't even name them. Like this is the one this is the one I'm after.
The one.
But because it comes down to one, maybe two deer that I want to kill anyway. And so it's pretty obvious, which one I want to, go after. So, and usually Jared and I, we've got some of the same leases together. So it's, whoever can get to them first. So, yeah.
So,
But that deer, if anyone wants to know, it scored 176 in I think 5/8 or 6/8. So
wow.
Yeah, it was a beautiful
That
deer.
was an
yeah.
absolute gorgeous deer. And how old was he?
What's that?
How old?
He was at least 7.5. Wow. I had pictures of him back from 2018, and so we were guessing him at 7.5. He was no younger than 7.5. He might have been 8.5, but we were pegging him at 7.5.
Wow.
Yep. And it's just you think about it, like that's a long time to watch a specific deer grow up and not get killed by somebody else, because like last year he probably would have been high 160s, and obviously that's a great deer.
Mm-hmm.
But he did live most of the time on the properties that I hunted. But last year, I think I didn't get a whole lot of daylight pictures, but he was nocturnal quite a bit last year. But this year, that's the other benefit of kind of watching these deer grow up. You kind of learn their habits. You kind of learn when they are going to start daylighting and what winds they prefer and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it was awesome to get him.
You had mentioned something a little back. I wanted to touch on a little bit. I've always heard that what is it with the rain and the antler growth? So what is it? Like a dry, wet springs, good for
when we.
Yeah.
So we had a drought. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you had a drought, so it's usually not as good for bone growth.
Yes.
I've always heard that, but I've never actually personally noticed the difference. But you're a little different out in Kansas. So is that something that you can kind of gauge by the type of summer you're having or spring you're having with the weather for how good of a year it's going to be for antler growth? Or How's that?
Yeah,
how's that?
and it's the same, whether it's in Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, when they get good rains or when they've had good snow, the antelope, elk, mule deer, all those animals are going to have better antler growth. We just hardly had any rain. So I own some farm ground, and the farmer basically cut just enough to get the crop insurance. I didn't carry crop insurance, but we basically had zero soybean harvest this year. Most of the dry land corn did not produce anything. And so a lot of those nutrients that the, bucks and deer need that they get, by the rain and everything growing, it just didn't happen this year. And I'm not saying, there was still a ton of big deer killed in Kansas this year. But just personally looking at the pictures that I had of the deer last year, there just wasn't a ton of growth, and some of them even went backwards.
Right.
So,
It's very interesting.
yeah. Yeah. But, we hadn't had what I would consider drought conditions since like 2012. So it doesn't happen a lot in Kansas. And we're in the kind of the middle of Kansas. The further west you go, the less rain they have, so they're probably more used to it out there. But yeah, it hit us pretty hard this year for sure.
So you doing a ton of travel hunting and different hunting. Like what is your bucket list hunt? And have you done it?
Well, I'm getting ready to do one.
Okay.
And that's brown bear in Alaska with a bow.
Wow.
That'll be this May, end of May, June of this coming year. I'm going up with a buddy, and it's got to be guided to hunt brown bear in Alaska. You have to go guided, and that's probably the number one reason I haven't gone yet. Is just obviously, they like their brown bears, so they charge a pretty good price for it. But I'm going with a buddy, and he talked to the guide, and as soon as he talked to the guide, he called me back and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not taking my bow. I'm taking my rifle." But it's always been a dream to do it with archery, and so that's what I'm going to do.
That's an incredible hunt, dude.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah. And it's in an area. So I don't know if it was 5 years ago. I'm not for sure on the date, so don't quote me on that. But they started allowing baiting for brown bears.
Okay.
Because a lot of these areas in Alaska are very dense, and some of the populations were getting too high and they were decimating the moose. And this is from what I understand, so anyone listening, don't fact check me, but they do take brown bears prey heavily on moose, and so they allowed them to start baiting. And so this is actually going to be a hunt where it's baited, but it's also so it's going to be in one of my tree stands.
Oh,
so that's the other part
awesome.
that's going to be awesome. And I met the guy at the Great American Outdoors Show last year, and he wants some of my stands for the hunt because they're flying bush planes and super cubs. Obviously, weight's a big deal, so I'm going to be taking up some tree stands for him, and obviously going to be hunting out of them. So, yeah, it's going to be awesome.
That's so cool, dude.
But
especially to shoot a brown bear out of a tree stand and then it be your own tree stand. Like that's impressive, dude.
Yeah. And so, obviously, those things are massive animals, and they can do a lot of damage to you. So I'm glad that it's going to be up in a tree, so at least he's going to have to work to get me.
Are you going to carry a sidearm? I gotta ask.
Well, I'll have the guide will be. I
Okay.
will, but in Alaska, the guide has to be with you 100% of the time.
Oh, okay. So it's not like he could
Yep.
set you up, put you in an area, you sit,
No.
wait. No.
No.
I think it's kind of
No.
smart though, man, because that's not a very simple hunt. Like
No,
that's a
it's
very
not.
dangerous,
Right.
dangerous hunt, man. I mean, that's
Oh yeah.
like dealing with leopards
Yeah.
in Zimbabwe, dude. Like that's not a joke.
Yeah. Right. Right. I mean, I've hunted black bears, but black bears just, they pale in comparison to a brown bear. I mean, when you're talking a 9'6" bear, I mean, that they're just massive.
Yeah.
That hunt just happened to come up first. My dream hunt is a dull sheep hunt.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably do that one with a rifle, but that's my number one dream hunt is to do a dull sheep hunt. So here in the next several years, I'll probably be doing that. But
That's awesome.
and to go to Africa, at some point I want to do that.
You have
They've
an
just
attraction to the
obviously-
African animals?
I do, but I don't think I'm going to name any of them. I think I'll just go over and shoot them.
Cecil the lion. Are you
It's something about the whole Disney, they all got names and stuff like that.
Are you more interested in the dangerous game or like the plains animals or anything in particular in Africa?
I like the sables.
Yeah,
I like
me
kudu.
too.
I'd love to kill a Cape buffalo. I mean, that would just be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But those three would be on the bucket list. But I want to go to Africa just because, I mean, it's Africa. I mean, there's just, if you go to the right spot, there's just tons of animals and it's, beautiful country and wild country. So
That's my attraction to Africa, honestly, is just the land, the people, the culture.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't have that attraction to the animals where like I want to go over there and kill any of them or harvest. I do, but I don't. Right? Like I think one of the things for me is just always listening and hearing about all the stories. You obviously probably don't know. I have really close friends that live there, and they come over here all the time. They hunt with me, fish with me when they're here. They're cousins of a friend of mine, and but just to listen to it, like my goal, honestly, 100% would be to go there for a couple of weeks and spend time with game scouts in the bush. Like that would be my ultimate goal. Like that's what I want to do. I don't. Yeah, it would be nice to shoot a cape or I like nilgais or there's a ton of different other animals that I love, but I think just to spend the time in the bush and understand that culture and what they do, the anti-poaching operations and that stuff.
Oh yeah.
People don't understand. They don't even know the beginning of what that is over there, and not every hunter is fascinated with it.
Right.
It's just a different world.
Well, and the fact that they wouldn't even have game animals if it wasn't for hunters.
Right.
The hunters putting the money into the economy that pays for the guys, the part of the game wardens and stuff like that that keeps the poachers out and keeps those animals alive. I mean, that hunters, they're pretty good at conservation. Yes, we hunt and we kill animals, but I mean, you look at Ducks Unlimited, National Wildlife Turkey Federation. A lot of hunters put a lot of money, and that's why we're able to chase a lot of these animals. Africa being a prime example.
I think Africa is kind of like where that all started, the conservation dollars going back into it. I mean, people don't understand for someone to go shoot a Cape buffalo, which is $35,000, that how much of that actually goes back into that economy, how much that meat goes to fill those tribesmen, and then the money that goes to those guide services are people that were tribesmen around the local area that now work for that outfitter. And those kids that go to school, the food that's in their belly, the clothes that are on their back. I mean, that's all from people that go there to hunt. Like that's just a small, minute scale of that. Like it's People don't understand that kind of stuff. I mean, these cultures need that. Us as outdoorsmen, I mean, it's just it's the way that it goes, man. Well, Josh, I got one last question for you, man, and that is, what drives you outdoors, man?
Man, ever since I was a little kid, I mean, I don't even think I can take credit for it. I mean, obviously God instilled it in me. But I just love being outside. I love everything about it. I love the different seasons. I love the animals that are out there. And obviously I love to hunt, but for me, it's also a family thing. Like I said, I'm hunting with my wife. I'm hunting with my brother, best friends, my kids. It's just everything about being outside that I love. So, and came by it pretty naturally because, my dad, I mean, that's the way he grew up. And, you go back down the list of my family heritage and they were, all farmers, all working outside. So, just love it.
That's honestly what it's all about, man. It's absolutely an amazing thing. It really honestly is, man. It's cool. It's cool to hear about your whole entire full circle, where you started as a kid to where you are now, and to see where you're gonna go with shooting a black bear and a Dall sheep and stuff. It's absolutely amazing. What'd I say? Black. I do that all the time. I suck at this. No.
Well, I have shot black bears, but brown bears is what I'm going after this time.
That's right.
Yeah, just a little bit bigger.
A little bit.
Well, Josh, why don't you tell everybody, man, where they can find you, where they can find Elevate Stands?
Yeah. Yep. So it is www.elevatestand.co. It is not .com, it's .co. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. My Instagram handle is Josh Stubbs Official. And then you can just find me under Josh Stubbs under Facebook if you want to do that. But I would encourage you just, go to Elevate. You'll be able to see everything you need to see there. So
I like that Josh Stubbs Official. You got a blue check mark?
It actually was as a joke because oh man, this would have been like when I got Instagram. I'm trying to think. But everyone was putting like, and I'm not saying Jim Shockey did this, but like Jim Shockey Official, or Levi Morgan Official, or Official Levi Morgan, and so I just did it as a joke, and then it just kind of stuck, and I just never changed it.
That's funny. I love it. I do love it. Yeah.
But he filled the shoes of Official.
So that's what I'm saying.
He filled the shoes of Official, so it's fine.
I was making fun of other people, and then it just kind of
you turned it.
I'm like, well, if I change my name now, they won't know that it's the official Josh Stubbs.
Don't worry. I heard pretty soon you can buy your blue check mark from Elon, so we'll get you there.
Oh well, yes, absolutely.
Coming from the guy who doesn't name deer, but now he soon is gonna name deer. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
I love it.
Well, Josh, man, we really appreciate you joining us, man. We're looking forward to seeing what else comes from Elevate Stands. And like I said, thanks a lot for joining us and taking the time to hang out with us.
Thank you for the conversation, man. It was awesome.
Absolutely. And for everyone else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.